Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and non-binary persons out there. Tonight, I'm going to be playing Darius Extra version for the Sega Genesis. This is the Mega Drive cartridge that was recently released in physical form by Columbus Circle in Japan. I believe Strictly Limited Games is supposed to release their North American and European versions sometime in April or May. I did put a pre-order in for that version, but I got tired of waiting, so I bought the Japanese version. So one thing I'm going to do before I get started playing is I'm going to go into the options menu and kind of explain the differences between this and the version that shipped on the Sega Genesis Mini. So on the Genesis Mini, this game was included, and it only contained the old version of the game, which is the default listed here. This cartridge version of the game also includes a new version and an extra version. And the difference being there were three different arcade versions of the game that were produced. The old and new versions had some balance tweaks, uh, but the big thing there was they didn't allow you to continue. Once you ran out of lives, that was it. The extra version in the arcade let you feed in extra quarters to continue, and here they've emulated that by giving you three continues. So it's really a friendlier version of the game because you can continue so you can play further and practice better. This one also includes boss rush versions of each of those. You can also change the boss types here. 26 bosses gives you a unique boss for each stage, whereas arcade, some of the bosses are repeated. The developer did that by taking some bosses from Super Darius, which I believe was the PC Engine version of the game. You can also switch between easy mode and normal mode. So the red ship and the blue ship. The blue ship keeps its power ups when you die. The red ship sets you back to zero. The other difference between this and the Genesis Mini version is that version had rapid fire on and off. This one allows you to change the speed of the rapid fire. I find these defaults to be pretty good, so I'm just going to leave them where they are. And with that said, I'm going to get started and play some of this awesome game. So Darius is your typical side-scrolling shoot-'em-up game. Uh, Collect red orbs to increase the power of your bullets, green orbs to increase the power of your bombs, and the blue orbs increase the power of your shield. There are also yellow and gray orbs that occasionally pop up. The yellow orbs clear the screen of enemies. They're pretty darn uncommon. And the gray orbs pop out of objects when you blast them, and the sooner you find them, the more points you get for them. Very basic mechanics for a shoot 'em up, but keep in mind this game was originally made for the arcades in 1986, 87, so those were very simple times back then. Given that, though, this game is actually pretty awesome. It's held up really well. I'm just thrilled to be playing a brand new Sega Genesis game in 2021. You might be thinking, hey, didn't they release this for the Genesis? They actually released Darius 2, also known in the West as SEGA, but they never released Darius. There were rumors that it was in development but got scrapped. This is not actually that development version of the game. The Genesis for this is very interesting. A fan who was trying to learn the homebrew Sega Genesis development kit started developing this as a proof of concept. He basically took the assets from the PC Engine version of the game and the arcade version of the game, made his own Sega Genesis version of Darius. And he did so well with it that he attracted the attention of M2, who were working with Taito to produce their various Darius collections. And that led to that version of the game being included on the Sega Genesis Mini, and the reception was so positive that now it's been released in cartridge form. I think that's just cool as hell that not only did we get a cartridge version of this game, but it was basically developed by one guy. It's always good to stay away from the middle of the screen at the end of the stage, because each stage splits in two to give you a choice of which path to take, and if you stay in the middle, you're just going to hit the rocky outcrop. I may have done that a few hundred times back in my younger days. I tend to prefer the arcade version of this game to this Genesis version or the PC Engine version, simply because in the arcade, the layout was 3 screens wide, and so you got to plan ahead. You got to see more of what was coming earlier. This game is heavily based on reaction time as a result. Thankfully, in the Darius Cosmic Collection that was released for the Switch and the PS4, you no longer have to choose between which version of the game you want to play. You no longer have to sacrifice, basically, because that comes with the arcade version as well as the Genesis version. Actually, I totally botched that. No, it doesn't come with the Genesis version. It comes with the arcade version only. Sorry. It is hard to think and play at the same time sometimes. And as you can see, I died and lost all of my power-ups. Very sad indeed. When it comes to the Darius franchise, I like the first game quite a bit, but it's not my preferred game. My preferred game is actually G Darius, which was on the PlayStation, and recently the arcade version of that was released on Darius Cosmic Revelation for the Switch and PS4. It's out in Japan right now. Bought the digital version on the Switch, and I've been enjoying that. Also, I hate this boss. I'm going to die a lot here. The thing I like about G Darius is you can capture enemies and use them as your backup ships, and I just love that mechanic. I'm not sure why they didn't release the original version of Darius for the Genesis back in the day. Oop, well, that sucked. Thankfully, we have a few continues we can use here. As I was saying, I don't know why they didn't release the Genesis port of the original Darius back in the day. All I can assume is when they started thinking about it, Darius 2 was the game that was in the arcade, so they started with that. Darius 2 on the Genesis is alright. It's a little bit sluggish for my taste, but still pretty cool. One of the benefits of this game being a more modern development is the audio is a lot better than your typical Genesis cartridge. I'm going to let the timer go a little bit here. If you're not very good at the game, waiting to trigger that is a smart idea because it will take you further through the stage without having to do anything. I love the Darius series because all of the bosses at the end are basically giant robot fish, and I just think that's the coolest thing ever. Look at this big beastly stingray. Ouch. Back in the day, I used to play this a lot for the Super Nintendo. The game made for that is based on Darius 2, I believe. It's called Darius Twin. So named because you can actually play 2 players. As you can see, this game is just single player, which for a shoot-'em-up game is generally okay. The stage is great for all of the power-ups you can get. However, dodging can get a little bit crazy. As you can see, I just tend to hold down the C button, which it auto-fires the shot and the bombs. My skill at this game is definitely not top tier. Again, using the strategy of letting the timer count down to carry me through the stage a little bit further. This ship's name is My Home Daddy. Okay. Definitely not a fan of this. Stage is definitely going to chew me up and spit me out. Alright, and that's the end here. I'm going to enter in my initials and call this video good to go. So, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you like Darius, this is definitely a great pickup for the Sega Genesis. And with that, I'm out of here. See ya!